And to think, I almost didn't have anything to talk about. And that's 13 minutes of my life I'm never getting back. Hi there. My name is Charles Ray Dawson. I'm the Associate Broker, Residential Sales Manager of ProStar Realty. This is the Unnamed Podcast, episode 259, take 2. So, I had a pretty good rant going there. Probably for the best that it all disappeared, because, just... Yeah, okay, like I said, this is going to be take 2, and I have no idea why my computer decided to not do the video on that, but long story short, I sat there and I tried to bring in an extra image that I thought that I realized I had not set up yet as a slide. As soon as I did that, it sort of freaked out the computer, and next thing you know, I just got audio only and not video. So from the top, I hope you guys are all having a good day. So this is episode 259. I was trying to figure out what I was going to talk about, and then I just came on, started rocking and rolling. I got a text earlier, and it was all about somebody trying to basically look here for the offer we're willing to make on your house, and it's clickbait, people. All right. Long story short, that 13 and a half minutes that I just lost to the internet gods is basically saying don't click on the clickbait questions. All right. That's how you get on a list, and that list is not run by the FBI. That list is run by companies that are going to spam you even more because they have a person. So what I wanted to talk about today, and I had just gotten started when I realized I didn't have my slide up, was giving some thought to everything, and is that you guys might remember about a year or so ago, I was talking about the three-legged stool of home affordability. Now, affordability has obviously been focus grouped and tested by think tanks as being a hot topic issue. Now, I'll let you in on a little secret. The issue does not come up because Joe Schmo giving an interview suddenly, it's like, "Hi, Joe Schmo. This is Ray Dawson with Ask You Questions survey service. We're interested in what's affecting people today in America. What's your number one issue?" Joe Schmo does not say affordability. He doesn't use the words affordability. Nobody uses the words affordability. That word is created by pollsters to identify an issue. Prices are too damn high. Wrap it in a fancy word that they can then turn around and sell to people. It's like, well, it looks like the number one issue we have out there is affordability. And then everybody starts talking about this new word affordability, when it used to be the prices are too damn high. And the nice thing about using the word affordability is it obscures the issue. Now, we talk about home affordability, but affordability itself is beautiful because you can apply it to anything. Affordability of groceries, the affordability of transportation, the affordability of energy costs, the affordability of housing, the affordability of whatever, all right? Netflix, all right? And so it's nice, and it's general, and it's broad, and politicians can rant and rave about affordability. And they don't even have to say what they want to work on. You fill in the blank, whatever your biggest stress point it is yourself. My personal problem with affordability is this. All right. The fact that a $50 freaking rice bowl was not that good is an affordability issue. It wasn't $50 after, but close enough. Anyways, that's an affordability issue. Okay, that's also a luxury issue. All right, but if my biggest stress point is I can't afford the luxuries in life I want because they cost too damn high, it's not like you're going to sit there and say, well, the steak, affordability, steak is too damn high. That sounds like a first world problem. But I turn around and say, well, we have a problem with affordability in America today, and this is what I intend to do about it. And then you get to fill in the blank of whatever's most important to you. Could be your prescription drugs. All right, whatever. So now that we're talking about affordability, all right, my niche housing affordability is starting to talk more and more. And of course, various talking heads and politicians are coming up with their very specific way they're going to fix the housing affordability issue. And I'll give you a little rule of thumb, guys. All right. I've mentioned this to a billion people. I always get that glazed over glassy look or the eye roll. It's always one or the other. All right. But anybody who's sitting out there taking a very complex topic and can put their solution on a bumper sticker, they're wrong. And they're probably getting paid by somebody. All right. Because complex problems require complex solutions. All right. So when politician A comes out there and say, houses cost too much, first-time home buyers can't buy new houses, so I'm going to give them more money to buy that house. That's not a good solution. It's too simple. And it has downstream secondary effects that anybody who stayed awake in frickin' economics would understand. Okay, but the person who's going to vote for that politician didn't take economics, otherwise they would not even be listening to that guy. All right, but just throwing an extra $10,000 at somebody to buy our house for the first time doesn't do anything more than make sure every house on the market suddenly goes up by $10,000. So we can also just say there, and we're going to do a mandatory tax. Okay, we're going to mandatory make everybody out there knock 20% off the price of their house. Fiat from upon high. You are not allowed. Or, as I've seen in other places, you take your price point that you bought the house in, and no matter what happened between then and now, you're only allowed to sell that house for 2% per annum as long as you've had it compounded. All right. So if your house is appraised for average 2%, okay, that means after 10 years, you'd be probably paying, you could only pay or sell your house for 11 to 12% more. Right? Oh boy, that sounds like a really good idea. Except for the people who paid attention in economics class, because if during the course of that 2%, that 10 years, you had the administration like the last one where we were looking at 5, 6, 7% inflation, well, guess what? All right, you needed your house to appreciate at 5, 6, 7, or it's actually literally worth less than what you paid for it. All right? This is not a way to generate wealth in the middle class, boys and girls. So same thing. Single sounds good, not a solid fix, which is why I take my, from the top, it's a stool when we're talking about home affordability. There might even be a fourth one out there. I've tried to fit a fourth one in there, but I can't find one. Somebody smarter than me might have one. But it's price of the house. Okay, and what I mean by price of the house is what your mortgage payment's going to be, which is the price of the house and the interest rate. All right. It is household income. How much are you bringing into the household that will help you make that mortgage payment? And the third leg of the stool, all right, local taxes, your property taxes. Anybody needs a little quick lesson on how property taxes can impact the real estate market? Take a look at Texas. Texas is like, oh, we don't have income tax. Oh, yeah, but you take it out on the other side. All right. And insurance costs and all the other carrying costs of having a house. Maintenance, upkeep, hot water heaters going out, the refrigerators that you have to replace every freaking 2 years because nobody builds a decent refrigerator anymore because of the efficiency standards they forced on there, all those little things, all right? So general overhead, those are your three legs. All right, so what have we seen so far? Then why did I wake up in a good mood this morning? Still am, by the way, is because flashback to why I'm in a good mood. Because housing did not go up. You guys might remember, like I said, many episodes ago, when everybody's like, how do we make housing more affordable? My solution was we have to move all three legs of the stool at the same time. All right. And what I said is we need to see a couple years of very low appreciation house prices. All right. enough to maintain inflation, but not what we saw in 2021. Right? Definitely not what we saw back in 04 and 05. We need, hey, client, yeah, it's one of those days. So anyways, we're talking about affordability. At least I think we were. Let's continue with that. So three-legged stool, da-da-da-da-da-da-da. So my personal theory of how to bring this down is we don't have any growth in home prices, or just enough to make up, offset inflation. All right. The other two things is we got to figure out how to get those carrying costs down, lower interest rates, no more ridiculous taxes, property tax raises. And then we need household income to come up. So as I was sitting there this morning, it's like, okay, well, where are we at? So found out something really interesting is that they don't tell you what a household income growth was in Arizona for 2025 until it's in September 2026. It takes them that long to crunch all the numbers. But I asked a AI to extrapolate, right? And the AI came back and said, hey, we are estimating that household income based on individual income extrapolated out to households rose between 4 and 5% for 2025. All right, that's a good start. All right, that's not chicken feed. All right. Now, this chart here, and this is the one that broke my first video when I was trying to bring it in. We covered this last week or so. All right, we're seeing that starter homes, the houses that are under 600,000, actually dropped in value. Not a lot, but almost holding steady, and actually not a lot, actually losing more if you pop in inflation on top of that. All right. Worst case was the under 300. Okay. And those things dropped 2.5. All right. Now there's not a lot of livable houses out there for under 300. There really isn't. All right. And those are your condos. Those are like 1-bedroom condos, smaller townhomes, that kind of stuff. Right. Maybe trailers, if that is included in this thing, manufactured homes. And, well, places like my new listing coming up on the south end of the valley, which is actually unlivable in at this point, right? But we saw the price drop there. Same with 300 to 350, all right? 2.2 and then 350 for 400. So that's your price drop. Not huge, okay? But when you add inflation on the top of that, it turns into a substantial little drop. In fact, I could say that if you had a house, under 300, you actually went down at least 5% once you layer on inflation and your dollar being worth less. So there's a drop there. Now notice 0.5% between the 700 to 800. All right, 0.5% is really, really, really not a lot. Okay, that's $4,000 on an $800,000 house. All right. So still not keeping up with inflation. In fact, we don't see any of these prices actually keeping up with last year's inflation until we get the $7.5 million and above. All right. So I would rather it seen that stay steady, but this will help a lot. Okay. So there's that other leg. All right. So what's our last leg? Home insurance, operating costs, all those carrying costs like that. That's the last one we got coming in. So take all of this information you have in hand, all right? Realize that the price of the houses are going down, but remember that particular one, the mortgage payment, this affects your mortgage payment, but so does the interest rates that are also dropping down, all right? So we're looking at a really good year, all right? Still waiting to see where everything shifts, whether or not where the Fed goes, right? But the rates are coming down. There was a Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac was directed to buy $200 billion worth of loans off the market in an attempt to get things. They've been pulling $50 billion or so every once in a while. They're still filling their coffers there, but that was, let's see if that increase in buying those loans off there drops the interest rates. Because, like I said, I got lenders actively quoting me in the 5s now. Right now, I know that seems high, and I don't like doing that whole after 50 years, that's lower than average, right? Because I play on a 20-year time scan. spam. Time scam. Yeah, time span. So let's see how that works out. And let's look at our inventory and what we got going on everywhere else, because we have, these are numbers for January 2020, January the 22nd. All right. Actives this week are 23,598, up 637. All right. New listings were 2,686, up 74. This is our spring fling. Contracts also raised to 2,308, up 230. Closings last week were anemic, 1,186. That's because nobody was looking at houses over December. All right. Coming soon to an MLS near you is 770 new listings. We see our supply at 93.4. Our demand is at 83.3. All right, and that gives us a Cromford report number of 89.1, still just barely in what's considered a buyer's market. But if you break it down to the individual neighborhoods, oh my God. All right, Fountain Hills dropped a little bit to 186.5. Our sellers markets right now, there are 10 of them. All right, from the top: Fountain Hills, Chandler, Gilbert, Scottsdale, Phoenix, Mesa, Cave Creek, Tempe, Glendale, and Peoria. Peoria moved from balance into the seller's market right now. Our balance markets that we have, there's only 2 of them, and they're both dropping. Okay, Paradise Valley, Rich People, we don't care. But Avondale dropped 2%. All right, still mid-range balanced market. Our buyer's market, where you can find your deals: Goodyear, Santan Valley, Surprise, Queen Creek, Buckeye, and Maricopa, but they're all gaining. Surprise gaining 10% month over to month. All right, so those are first-time home buyers moving into first-time home buyer neighborhoods. All right, and our biggest winner, all right, was Phoenix at 16%, and our biggest loser was Paradise Valley with rich people that we don't care about. So other number I really wanted to show you, just give you a little bit of comparison of what's going on. This is very, very tight, very small. I hope you see this on the big screen. But as we can see, in 2025, our sales of all types actually went up. So more sales happened. All right. Single family detached went up. Apartment styles actually dropped a little bit. So did mobile homes. All right. And average days on market, okay, rose from 67 to 80 days. All right. But there's a square foot average sales. Okay. Remember, what I showed you here is broke down into the price point. Okay. What here, these are the averages. Okay. So I'm not giving you another averages and median class. You should all know this by now. All right. But appreciation, same thing. We've seen that, 1.2. Okay. Slowing up. Annual median 0.3, okay, and then your average sales price, all right, is a percentage of listing price. That's how much lower that they sold from what they actually listed it at. All right, that is a sign of a declining market, by the way. All right, dollar volume, average sales price, average median price right now is 145, or wait, as I was 451. Last year, we were calling it at 450, so it actually went up 1,270. Remember, those big houses move the charts in unusual ways, right? And normal sales were up just a little bit. What you're going to see, and I just want to call this out right now, is that lender-owned sales, these are foreclosures, okay, doubled. All right, and I'm pretty sure bad actors and doom pillars out there are going to be saying, oh, well, foreclosures doubled in Maricopa County. It's all over. All right. It went from 96 to 230. All right. Yeah. Technically doubled and more. Okay. Still, our average should be 400 based on our population. That is just random people who get in trouble, divorced or whatever, and they get their house taken away. All right. Pre-foreclosure sales did go up, okay? But if somebody's out there saying, oh my God, foreclosures doubled last year, it's here comes the crash. Come on, poke, come on, crash. All right, that's the reason. Foreclosures notices went up, trustee sales went up, okay, in Maricopa, but not that huge, okay? So, new home sales actually dropped, which is interesting. Resales went up. Not as much activity on the new homes as used to be. All right. I don't really work the new homes market. I can't tell you why that happened. It's not like they're running out of land, but we'll see. So what does this all mean to you? Well, it means that I've talked to you for another 20 minutes. Hopefully you've been entertained, learned something useful. Really, I'm sort of glad I lost that first recording. Looking back on it, that probably wasn't for the best. Sorry for all the technical difficulties. So I'm not even going to try a fancy segue today. So watch your children and pets around water. Don't drive into anything flooded. If you were in part of the country where apparently like the Arctic Circle is descending upon you, watch yourself when you drive on the ice. Never have to say that here in Arizona. All right. Work your circles every day, and you guys have a great weekend.